Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Rhonda Scharf says that Alexa is stealing your job. Let's find out why from our guest, Rhonda Scharf. Rhonda, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Rhonda, Alexa is Stealing Your Job is actually the title of your book. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah, the latest book. It's being released on Tuesday.
Now, just so our audience kind of gets the drift of this, who is Alexa if somebody doesn't know or never heard of her?
Alexa is a smart speaker created by Amazon, and basically she sits on your counter, and you can use her in business, you can use her at home, and she is a artificial intelligence-based assistant. So she's a kind of virtual assistant that helps you get things done.
Okay, now you used another term there, and just to start out, a lot of times we hear people say artificial intelligence, and also that, if I'm right, that's described as simply AI. Is that right?
It is AI, absolutely.
Okay, so we're getting a complete education here now. So whether we call it the full name artificial intelligence or briefly, if we're writing something, AI, what really is? Now, we've all heard the term artificial intelligence, but I don't think most of us really know what it is. So could you kind of give us some insights?
Absolutely. So artificial intelligence is defined as intelligence demonstrated by machines. So basically, you and I and animals, we have natural intelligence, like we're born with this. And so when a machine is able to think and learn and problem solve and understand and do things on its own, it's considered artificial intelligence. So, for instance, if you take computers that we've had since the 50s, that's not artificial intelligence because it's been taught. When you press Control P, it means print. You know, when you do Control S, it means save. It's been taught that. But artificial intelligence actually learns by having conversations with us. So it has the ability to figure out what you said and what that means. And so over time, artificial intelligence gets smarter and smarter and smarter, much like Hal in Space Odyssey or Rosie from the Jetsons. Like it's kind of a robotic function, but it's able to live on its own without somebody telling it what to do next.
And that's a little scary. When I first think of robots or artificial intelligence, I think of a machine filling a bottle with 20 pills or putting the top on a bottle or putting the little sticky on the cornflakes box that makes it stay closed till I fight it and get it open. But you're saying now the machines can do actually the thinking. Did I get that right?
Yeah. You totally got that right. So robotics is what you're describing. And robotics can work in a factory line and it can put the screw top on the top and all that sort of stuff. But AI, artificial intelligence, is the ability for that machine to think on its own. So let's say we use it in a robotics line, just as, say, in a factory type thing where it is putting the screw cap on. A robot would just put the screw cap on. An AI bot would say, oh, that one didn't go on right. Let me do it again properly.
Wow.
It would know that it didn't do it right.
And before the show, you corrected me. I had a wrong number. I want to make sure I have this correct.
Yeah.
Alexa can handle 60,000 different skills?
Yep. As a couple of months ago, so this is like June of 2019, she has 60,000 different skill sets.
I think I have 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm not far off 3. And so when I wrote the book, I think it was at 30,000, and like literally within less than 12 months, she's at 60,000. So that was June. So here we are later. It's probably closer to 100. I mean, the population right now is teaching her skills constantly, and because she's AI, she learns automatically as well. Like there's not a person teaching her that. She does learn automatically.
I'm starting to feel like this is Twilight Zone 2019.
It is.
Now, time for the tough question. How do I know you're not a robot or part of artificial? How do I know you're real? I've never really met you, and, you seem real, look real, but how do I know?
So the reality is you don't. Now, I can tell you I'm real, but I'm willing to bet that an AI bot would tell you're real as well. So there happens to be an artificial intelligent bot who walks around, and her name is Sophia. And Sophia, although they made her look like a robot, can have a full-on conversation exactly as we're having. So the real difference right now in 2019, and that's going to change very quickly, is really the awareness of self and the awareness of others. So emotional intelligence is something that at the moment AI bots are not great with. Now they're learning to look at your face and understand your face, and they can have a full-on conversation with me right now, like you're having with me right now. But it's the EI piece. So the reality is, if you've called a big business, and I'll say Fortune 500 just for the sake of argument, if you called a big Fortune 500 company and been on a wait line and someone has asked you, what are you calling about, or how can I help you? The odds are that was 100% a bot. It was not a real person. All those robobots that we hear for elections and all that, they're not people. They're bots. And so it is really hard to tell when you're talking to a person and when you're talking to a machine. And the whole point is that you shouldn't be able to tell.
So you're telling me you're not a robot or anything.
I'm telling you that, yeah.
But I could be fooled, and very easily, because you're the expert, and I'm learning from you, and you're scaring me more and more as we talk about this. So
but the reality is that in the future, you're not going to be able to tell.
Okay. Well, I guess I should be glad I'm here today, talking to you today, interviewing you today.
Exactly.
Rhonda, before we move ahead, I want our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. I'm talking to Rhonda Scharf, that's spelled S-C-H-A-R-F, and her book is Alexa is Stealing Your Job. And again, for our audience, if there's a book you're going to read and find out about what's coming in the future, and if you want to be prepared for it, just like driving down a road and know where the potholes are, you better get hold of Alexa is Stealing Your Job. It's an easy read. It'll make you very interesting and popular at meetings and cocktail parties, and it'll also prepare you for the future, as you'll hear as we go on. Rhonda, where can we get the book, and is there a website where we can find out more information?
Absolutely. So you can get alexastealingyourjob.com. and you'll be able to order that directly from there. You can also go on Amazon, and you can go on Barnes & Noble, and as of Tuesday, when it physically drops, you should be able to physically walk into your Amazon and Barnes & Noble location and pick it up there as well. And there's a lot of places it's going to be available. Hopefully you see it everywhere.
I'm sure we will, and if not, it'll follow us out the store, or it'll jump into our wagon, or our little gadget that we carry around the store to put books into and other products. So now,
exactly.
In your book, you give a couple examples. So to give people the idea of just what's going on, tell us how 1-800-Flowers uses artificial intelligence.
So 1-800-Flowers is much like a Domino's pizza kind of thing, and what it does is it learns how you order, and so when you go onto their website, you're not actually talking to a person, you're actually talking to a bot, and so it will learn what questions to ask you, it will learn to figure out what you want. So it was one of the very first retailers to embrace AI. And they also save revenue. So there is not a person involved. They're using conversational chatbots. And so basically, if you went on their website and say, I want some flowers for a funeral, they're going to say, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. What kind of flowers would you like? What kind of money do you want to spend? Like it's asking you the right questions based on what you say. So if you say, okay, I want lilies, she'll say, would you like white lilies or yellow lilies? Whereas if you said roses, she'd say, you probably don't want red roses. Do you want white roses? So the questions are going to be different based on what she's learned. So if you say, I want lilies because it's a funeral and I want white lilies, and let's say 9 of the last 10 people have said they want white lilies. If you go on and say, I want flowers for a funeral, she'll say, would you like them white? Because she's learned that for funerals, white is the right answer. If you say, I want to order roses for my wife, she's learned that wife typically means love. Would you like red roses? So it's Gwyn is their bot, and so it works on Facebook, and it works on their website. And just 2 months after they launched Gwyn on Facebook, 70% of the orders came from brand new customers.
Wow.
And so people going online, and she was able to get the order from them.
And just to put it in perspective, the typical person, man or woman working in the office, they want to get flowers for someone, a funeral or a special occasion. Just as you said, they basically say, Alexa, I want flowers for so-and-so, send them to so-and-so. Instead of either doing it themselves, which would take time, go park, run in the store, even if everything goes smoothly and maybe it's either right in their building or down the street, they still have to physically take 8, 10, 12 minutes, and usually it's going to be much more till they get parking, run in there, make sure there's no line. Just that one task, they can take care of everything, however often, maybe 5 times a year that they might need flowers for an occasion or somebody special. They can do that, and it's done.
Done. So I can be standing in my kitchen, I can be standing in my office, and I don't actually need to call 1-800-Flowers. I can say, Alexa, send my wife red roses for Valentine's Day, please. And they know my wife, they know her name, they know where she works, they know my credit card, they know, and it's done. It's like a 3-second order versus, like you said, that 10 or 12 minutes.
Now, even more amazing to me was the example you gave with, I think it's called Amazon Go. And next time I go shopping in the supermarket, how it's going to help me. So tell us about that.
So Amazon Go already exists in different parts of the country, and I think Seattle is probably the best place that you're going to find it. And Amazon Go is basically a grocery store, and it's hooked up to your Amazon account. So you walk in and you do all your shopping, and you walk out. So you put all the stuff in your portable bag, because we're going to have our own, bags. We're not going to use plastic bags. We never need to see a cashier. We never just see anything out. So it's much like the way that it works when you're in a hotel and they've got those mini bars that are monitored. Like if you take that little bottle of vodka out, you're paying for that little vodka bottle. And so the same thing is true at Amazon Go. So you walk in, you take groceries, you take whatever you want, you just put them in your bag and you just walk out. And because you took it off, there's some kind of scanner code, and the second you walk out, you are charged automatically to your credit card with that. So that's saving you. You think about the whole, the time it takes to stand in line and bag your groceries and blah, blah, blah. Let's say it's 5-10 minutes. It's saving you that time. So you walk in, you grab what you want, and you walk out. And so those Amazon Go stores they exist right now. They're already up and running.
And always that 5 or 10 minutes feels like 15 or 20. Even if it's 20 seconds at McDonald's, you think you're there for 2 minutes. It seems like eternity. Obviously, it's not. But how nice to be able to run in and grab a few things, almost like your local convenience store or what we might find at a lot of gas stations, where you can run in and grab the newspaper, a few candy bars, and a box of donuts. And you can walk out, and you're charged for it on the credit card. Everything's taken care of. You don't have to wait, whatever.
Exactly. It's very efficient. It's like shopping at your mom's house. You just take what you want and leave.
You call this artificial intelligence. You say it's a cultural shift, a mind shift, and an organizational shift. Can you explain what that is?
So culturally, we are already starting to get there. There's a lot of AI in existence that people don't necessarily realize is artificial intelligence. So there's over close to 50% of the U.S. population right now has a programmable thermostat in their house. So whether it's a Nest or whatever it happens to be. Now, of the 50% of the U.S. market that has one of those things, which is crazy high, most are not using it properly. But the Nest has the ability to automatically AI your house. So I have one in my house, and I was up this morning earlier than I normally have. As soon as I started walking around, my Nest knew I was walking around, and all of a sudden, I live in Canada, so the furnace came on because it's cold. It started warming up the house because it said, oh, somebody's up, right? So it's cultural in that a lot of us have Amazon or Google sitting on our counter, and they're a really nice stereo, and they're a fun game, but the reality is they're hooking up we have a doorbell, we have all our plugs, so culturally we are integrating it without recognizing that we are already embracing it. And then when you sort of think as a whole shift, it is starting to work its way into the workplace. There's tons of organizations, like we talked about Amazon Go and 1-800-Flowers. There's tons of organizations that are already using it, and we're not aware that we're using it. And so it's becoming the way of doing business, but people are a little bit, yes, maybe the right word is naive, and they don't realize how much that it's out there. So right now, it's sure all the buzz, everybody's talking about it, but honestly, it's been around for the last easily 5 years, and in the next 5 years, it's going to be exponentially more. Like even your cell phone. So I don't care whether you use an iPhone or an Android or a BlackBerry, whatever you use. There's been AI in that phone the entire time. So like if you and I sit around and we're, having a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and all we keep talking about is 1-800-Flowers. Like we keep using that as an example. Your phone is always listening. And tomorrow when you go online, whether it's on your browser or whatever social media of choice, you're going to see advertisements for that. So it's been listening to you the whole time. So there's been all kinds of this in our life. We're just starting to see the cultural impact because people are starting to recognize that this is alive and well.
Rhonda, when we come back, we're going to ask you if we should be nervous or happy about this. But at this point in the show, it's a good time for a break. So I'll let our audience know that I'm Bill Horan. Today I'm talking to Rhonda Scharf. She's the author of Alexa is Stealing Your Job. You're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kathleen Eubanks-Ming with the American Academy of Family Physicians. Bullies use power, strength, or popularity to hurt others emotionally or physically. And while you can't be with your child all the time, there are ways you can help. If your child encounters a bully, tell them to get to a safe place and tell an adult. You can also show them how to block online bullies. Teach them they can be more than a bystander and that they can help their peers. For more on bullying, visit familydoctor.org or talk with your family physician.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan, and today I'm talking to Rhonda Scharf, author of Alexa is Stealing Your Job. Rhonda, in your book, you mention that I think 70% of senior executives say that robotics and artificial intelligence will actually reduce middle managers. Now, we all think of a middle manager, somebody pretty important. She would be needed around to handle different situations and act and react accordingly. But this is going to drastically reduce. Is that correct? Did I get that information right?
Yeah, and so it's a one piece of the entire puzzle, but when you look at the middle manager is going to be reduced, part of the reason is because the entry-level worker is going to disappear. So if you can sit down with a piece of paper or an online program and write out the steps of what your job is, it means that is very task-oriented. And anything that is very task-oriented can be given away. And so we're going to have AI and robotics and all those things that are able to do all the task-based of your job. And that means we don't need middle management because we don't need people to manage them. They're going to be able to do it just fine. We're going to need more senior manager because we're all going to move sort of up a level. But the middle manager piece will disappear, but it will disappear with a promotion because you're going to move up the ladder.
Now, Rhonda, in your book, you actually tell us by percentages, and I think it's about 15 pages of it, the probability of an occupation, and I'm just picking one page, crane and tower operators, traffic technicians, transportation inspectors, pattern makers, molders, appraisers, pump operators, signal and track switch repairers, bakers. Mm-hmm. You actually give the percentage chance of them being replaced. And I have to warn our audience that you start out at 99% and work your way down. So most of these numbers are pretty much, most of these professions are pretty much going to be replaced. So can you tell us, I guess as a group, to warn us which sectors are most likely and maybe we should start preparing for this?
Well, it's which part of your job can be automated. And so if you look at, track, conductors or whatever, there's a lot of that can be automated with artificial intelligence. So whatever job you want to look, there's, like you said, 15 pages. There's hundreds and hundreds of jobs. And I think that people that are at the 99%, they're already starting to see their jobs disappear. Now, that's the task component of their job. So let's assume you are just say, for the sake of argument, a toll collector. You're working on the interstate and you stand there and you collect your $5 from each car that goes through. Let's be honest. You've got to be clear that this is not a reasonable way to pay someone $12 or $15 an hour. We can have automated passes. We can read license plates. Like, we can already do that. So you already know that your job is kind of on the line. So anything that can be automated is going to go away. So anything that is what I would call an entry-level task job, where people will do pretty much at minimum wage. Unfortunately, it is not rewarded by society. Those are the jobs that are going to disappear quickly. The jobs that are not, and they'll be replaced with other jobs, which I can talk about as well, but those jobs are going away. But I'd like to think that anybody sitting at a toll booth in an interstate already knows they don't have a job for the next 50 years. Like, they're already aware that their time is limited, right?
Sure.
And so the jobs at the other end, so when you take those middle management jobs, you take those jobs, you take away all the tasks, and that now gives you time to do 1,000 other things that you would like to do, but you don't have time. So even take your job as a radio host. I mean, you've got, our 30-minute interview, but you have 40,000 other things to do. Now, wouldn't it be nice if, say, 39,000 of those other things to do were done automatically so that you could spend all your time with your interviews and doing your research and doing all that? Then you'd be I'm not saying you're not bad, but you'd be much better at what you do. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And,
sure.
Yeah. So what it means is you're taking away all the stuff that takes time, and you're putting more brain power in that creates more. So, yeah, all those low-level task-based jobs, they are going to disappear. Like when you go to McDonald's or you walk into Chick-fil-A or whatever, we're not actually going to need a person behind the counter. But we might need someone in the back making sure we've got quality control, or that the burgers don't come out of the freezer too early, that kind of stuff.
Rhonda, once again, I want our audience to know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Rhonda Scharf, spelled Scharf, and she's talking about her book, Alexa is Stealing Your Job. Rhonda, can you tell us where we can get the book and give us that website again?
Yep, the website is alexaisstealingyourjob.com. You can find the book on both Kindle and printed version on Amazon, as well as barnesandnoble.com, and at Barnes & Noble's, for those of you that you can also get it in Nook version as well.
And for everybody, if you want to start preparing for the future and your friends will say, how do you know this? Where did you learn this? This isn't going to happen. Yeah. There'll be a lot of denial. First of all, you're talking to an expert, Rhonda, not myself, obviously, but who knows what she's talking about. She's giving you backup. The book is a very easy read. I think it's less than 150 pages. You can get it at an airport and read it on a plane or while you're in a waiting room, etc. And if nothing else, you're going to be the most popular person at the next meeting or cocktail party when you start dropping this in. And people will be looking at you and say, when did she get so smart? How did they get to know this? Who are they hanging out with?
How do they know this? Exactly.
So, now, what I want you to do for our audience, though, now is tell us, how do we position ourselves going forward? What can we do to prepare for this, no matter whether we're 25, 45, or 68?
Exactly. So the reality is, as much as the title is a fairly negative title, Alexa Stealing Your Job, I actually think that we're at the precipice of moving into a great thinking economy. And I think we are going to create so many jobs out of AI. And if you think about when the computer revolution came forward sort of in the late 1980s, everybody's worried that everything was going to be robotic and we're not going to need people. And the reality is it created the whole .com industry. I mean, it was a massive employer. You think about what percentage of the United States is employed in technology. It's very high, right? And so at the 80s, everybody thought, we're going to lose a job. But I think AI is at the same thing. So we're at the point where, yes, all those low level, and when I say low level, I don't mean intellectual. I mean paying jobs, people that are, working 3 jobs at a time because they can't afford to pay their rent. Those jobs are going to disappear. And it's going to be that we move up a level. So we need jobs that require your thinking power that only you can bring to the table. So according to many different studies, LinkedIn sort of being the biggest study, emotional intelligence is the number one skill to have in the year 2020. And that's the ability to read emotions, read people, read into the situation that machines are not able to do. And so it's going to be very relationship-based. my very favorite quote in the world comes from Maya Angelou, and she says, "People will never forget how you made them feel." And that's where we have a huge opportunity. If you're having a relationship's a bit strong, with an AI bot, you know that none of the right answers are sincere or authentic. They've learned that that's the right thing to say. And we talk to people and we feel the same way. They're only saying that because they've been taught that's important. But for those of us that have EI and can have thinking power, we are going to bring to our organization creativity, thought process. So your bot says we're doing this, and you're like, oh my gosh, with this we can do this and this and this. And we're able to take the status normal and bring it up exponentially because of our ability to think creative, because of our ability to connect with other people. So I think we're all about to get a promotion. We are now going to be much more strategic than we've ever been before. And we're going to learn to work with AI, not instead of or opposed to. We're going to take what they create and boom from there.
What would you tell?
It's a really great place.
What would you tell parents who their children are in high school, they're looking toward college, and of course that's a big bite out of their pocketbook, and especially if you're training for a job that might not be there in 4, 5, 10 years, maybe even sooner. Is there an instruction or a path or a piece of advice you'd give to the parents?
Yeah, I'd say if it's one of those jobs that you can learn by reading the book, don't do that job, because that job won't exist. And so when you look at anything manual labor, when you look at anything task-based, when you look at anything repetitive, it will not be there. Now, just because it's a profession right now doesn't mean it's not going to be there. Take an optometrist, for instance. An optometrist does this look better, this look better, this look better, this look better. AI bot is going to know which one looks better. It's going to be able to look at your focus and say this one's better. So because that job is very repetitive in nature, you do that 40 times a day, that kind of job is going to disappear. When you look at a radio host like what you're doing, your interviews are very different and that you're asking the right questions. AI may not be able to do that. So I would be encouraging my kids to go in a very intellectual-based profession where you need the brain, you need your ability to discern and make decisions. I wouldn't go in any direction that's repetitive.
Rhonda, we want to thank you so much. And again, remind our audience, the book is Alexa is Stealing Your Job. It's by our guest, Rhonda Scharf, spelled Scharf. And if you didn't hear the whole show, you can listen to it again on nccradio.org. That's a podcast, easy enough to listen to it. But my advice is read the book. You will be hearing directly from the expert, and you'll be the person prepared, which means you'll be on the top of the pile when many of the others, unfortunately for them, it's going to be late news because you were smart enough to listen to Rhonda Scharf and listen to The Secrets of Success. We want to thank you again for being with us today, Rhonda, and let our audience know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at this same time when we will continue our journey to success.